Hey, welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Insider. This is the second episode. Last episode, we interviewed Bill Garvin, had a lot of great content. And so moving on from that, I wanted to move into somebody else that's equally as interesting, and I think that we'd probably learn a lot of stuff about. Some of you guys have seen the CRIO printers that we carry, a lot of the accessories. I've been posting a lot of videos lately, kind of highlighting some of the capabilities. And though we will touch a little bit on some of the capabilities of CRIO, a lot of this, as you guys know, is getting to know people behind the businesses. And so RJ here, he was a former college player, and then he's just really kind of worked his way up through the sales ranks, and now he's the representative for CRIO, travels all over the country, trade show support, machine support, a little bit of everything. I think I've seen you all over YouTube. But I'll let him get into his background a little bit. So without further ado, today's guest, RJ Rickert.
Awesome. Appreciate you having me. Always good down to come to Stitch It and hang out with the guys. And, first time meeting you.
Yep.
So this will be good.
Yeah, I think we've talked a few times over email and stuff like that, but
Right.
we haven't really face-to-face, except for, I fell in love with your boyish charms on the YouTube channel. But
Man, that was a lot younger version of me. And
if you're like me a few pounds ago. But
that's right. Exactly. The industry will do that to you.
Yeah, it really will. So speaking of industry, like I said, college player, where'd you go to college at?
Yeah, Northern Arizona.
Okay. So
The Northern Arizona University.
Northern Arizona.
Yeah. They call us the Harvard of the West.
That's fair. That's fair. And then actually, I'm a big fan of out west, honestly. I like
Okay.
the weather a lot more than here. So
Oh, yeah.
moving from Arizona to here, I'm sure was a little bit of an adjustment.
Yes, it absolutely was. So I moved to St. Louis, Missouri in 2019. And as a kid growing up in Phoenix, Arizona his whole life, I didn't know much about hockey. And this is right when the St. Louis Blues went on a big playoff run.
Okay.
And they won the Stanley Cup. But I remember going to a local bar and just sitting there, and this guy's like, "Hey, go get a Blues shirt and come back to the big game." Me playing football my whole life, I was like, "Oh, is this an indoor football team?" Or I had no clue there was a hockey team. And so that made the transition pretty easy to come to St. Louis because I made great friends. There was something to do every night of the week because the Blues were playing that run. So,
Okay.
But yeah, as far as the weather goes, you went from no humidity to sometimes 90% humidity.
Oh, yeah.
And that was interesting.
But hey, it's Missouri, so you stick around for a couple hours, the weather will change on you.
Exactly.
So. But as part of that, you said before we started recording, you said you went to school for business.
Mm-hmm.
And so was the apparel decoration industry something that you kind of saw before you went? Like, was you getting your degree to be able to get into that industry? Or did you get your degree and then you just happened upon it?
Yeah, no, I definitely got my degree knowing I wanted to do something. Football's going to end eventually.
Mhm.
And obviously I was going to get into sales with just, my personality. And my father is, some people know him, but he's well known in this industry. He used to be the president of Muto. I used to work for Oki Data. So my dad helped me get my first gig really in our industry. And then from there I kind of took off. So I guess a lot of people say you're born into this industry. I guess, yeah, I was kind of born into this industry.
Because I know here at Stitch It,
Yeah.
the McMinns, obviously, they were born into it.
Right.
And then, like, for me personally, background in marketing, my daughter, to break the fourth wall a little bit, my daughter is the sound tech. She's gotten into marketing, so a lot of times it's that family industry.
Sure.
So I'm sure, again, you probably didn't see yourself like, hey, I'm going to sell printers for a living.
Nope.
But you knew you wanted to do something with business. Did you have any, like, goals before getting into it, or you just kind of, hey, let's see where it goes?
Yeah, I think, a lot of athletes growing up kind of get blinded by the fact that football or your sport's going to end eventually. And so you kind of just, you want to play as long as you can. So I kind of got the degree. Now in college, I got a sales certificate, a customer service certificate, and I actually have a marketing background. So that's what I was specialized with.
Okay.
So yeah, to answer your question, I had no previous knowledge of what I was going to do in this business world. But, I think the moral of the story is it's really not what you know. Sometimes it's who you know. And
Absolutely.
And that's kind of how you get your foot in the door. And then, once that opportunity presents itself, I think it's kind of up to you, to run with that opportunity.
Oh, I would agree with that. A lot of times it's kind of that, I'll open the door for you, but then it's up to you to take off running.
100%.
And I know we talked a little bit before this, and You started out selling turtle wax and stuff at car lots, and so humble beginnings. And I'm sure, coming from a football team, you're used to riding that high, and then you find yourself, you're like, hey, I'm selling at car lots.
Oh yeah.
And it is kind of a big adjustment. So was there something that you told yourself along the way that was like, okay, this is just the first stop, this isn't the final destination? Like, what kept you driving through those little part-time gigs and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think it's Drake started that song. It started from the bottom, now we're here. And I wouldn't say I was at the bottom, but yeah, no, I think it teaches you the grind. It teaches you I guess kind of how to sell, because you got to meet someone, you got to try to sell them, whether it's car wax or any of the other accessories that we were selling. But it's hey, is this for you or not? Because at the end of the day, that got me talking to people, introducing myself, going out of my way to say just hello. And that translated so well because I do so many trade shows and open houses, and I'm meeting new people every weekend. So honestly, starting there, not knowing anything, because as a football player, I was kind of reserved, so I wasn't the dude going out and really just saying what's up to people. And so it got me out of my comfort zone. But you get that instant reward, if you make a sale, you're like, oh man, that's pretty nice. And so I think it kind of just teaches you, like I said, the people skills that are needed, at least what I do with my job, to kind of take the training wheels off. And now it's, there's a lot more to it.
I could see too, like a lot of people just look at football as like a physical sport or something like that. But I never could get into football. I couldn't make sense of like learning all the plays and memorizing them and stuff. So there's a lot that goes into it behind the scenes. But then one of the big things is communication. Like you have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to talk to your teammates. You have to be on the same page with stuff. And I'm sure that helped a lot with the background in sales, is you kind of got used to like, hey, now I know how to talk to people. I know how to receive information. I know how to retain that information.
For sure.
And I think that makes a huge difference when you're coming into it. So do you think, as silly of a question as it sounds like, do you think that if you wouldn't have had the drive to be an athlete first, that you would be as successful as you've been in business?
I don't know where I would be, to be completely fair. I don't know if I would have even gotten to college. I would have had to I've learned something, I would have got here somehow, but no, I don't know. I mean, being an athlete my whole life, it teaches you to get up and put forth the word needed to accomplish whatever goal that might have been. And so now even today, it's like I wake up at 5 and I go work out at 6, and I get my schedule. And I think a lot of athletes are schedule driven, and you throw in sometimes a curveball and your whole day is all messed up. Yeah. But no, it definitely gave me the tools to work hard. It's a different grind out here than it is, in the weight room or on the football field. But I do think that structure and work ethic has gotten me to where I'm at today.
Well, I think that too. And I just while you was answering that, it got me to thinking about that kind of level of commitment. My daughter, a while back, she played volleyball, and about halfway through the season, she was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. And I was like, no, like, you made the commitment, like, you have to follow through. I said, if you don't play next year, that's fine. But you made the commitment for this season, you're going to finish through. And by the end of the season, of course, she was back on the bandwagon, and I love this. It was just that lull. And so I think kind of learning how to make that commitment, kind of learning how to push through those hard times, push through the losses, because in sales, in marketing, you're going to have a lot of losses. Like you said, you're going to pick up that phone, you're going to have a lot of people that say no, and you have to be able to push through.
Right.
So I think that actually that athlete background can really help a lot. But switching over into your major, you did business, right? And you said that marketing was your specialty. Have you done any other positions within CRIO outside of what you're doing now? Or was it like you built up enough experience before then that you kind of already had that foot forward?
Yeah, so when I got hired at ISW, we were representing Oki Data. This was before CRIO was the brand.
Which had switched over a few years ago, right?
Yes, yeah. August of 21, CRIO kind of came about. But when I started, it just so happened that my tech guy, he left. And so there was about 2 years stint of, I was doing sales and support. So it was kind of the whole deal is, and I'm very grateful I have more help now. But I think it made me help. I'm very confident in talking about this product because I have made every mistake there is known to man. When you talk about, a customer struggling, it's like I've been there. And so I think my customer service, my tech support and sales knowledge is strictly from me getting my hands dirty and making every mistake I know out there. And so, I didn't necessarily do the marketing side of this. My marketing team did an amazing job of building CRIO and the brand and all of that good stuff. But I think that I was able to participate in, here's what a customer is going to need to be successful. Because when I struggled and I didn't see a good video out there, I was able to create those videos to help other people. Because we're all going to make the mistakes. But if I can at least help you when you do make it, or help for you don't to make it, I think that's kind of the knowledge and skill set that I've brought to the table with CRIO.
And I think it's funny that you said that, because I asked Bill almost the exact same question last episode. I said, whenever you're dealing with people, maybe they're not necessarily they're struggling to learn a concept, or they're struggling on a process or something. I said, how do you push through and not let that kind of frustrate you or whatever? And he said the same thing. He said, because I've been doing this for so long, I just remind myself I've made those mistakes. I've learned those lessons myself. And so it's kind of funny that it seems like the people that really excel the most are the ones that they kind of started and they've been through that grind, they've been through that push. And you were talking about with when you first started, you was doing the tech work and stuff, how there was those things, those lessons that you learned, and there wasn't a resource for you just to search up on YouTube and find a video. And you had to learn the lessons and create them yourself. And I've seen several videos from CRIO where you basically walk through from start to finish. And it's part of why, here at Stitch It, we've been doing this podcast, we've been doing Facebook Lives, we're doing how-tos and stuff, is because, as Bill said last week, in this industry, there's not a huge focus on education. And I think that that's important. I see that that's something that you do all the time. I think I've probably gotten 50 emails from either you or somebody on your team that's like, hey, we're doing this new approach, or we're wanting to highlight this or whatever. And it's just that constant education. So if you were to talk to anybody that's getting into this industry for the first time, unfamiliar with it, basically never touched a white toner printer in their life, what are kind of some of those points of research that you would suggest somebody really look into before making a decision?
But we're assuming they're buying a white toner printer of some sort?
Correct. Let's say they're already in the apparel industry, or they already have a boutique or something, and they're just looking to expand their offering. And so they know that they want to get into it, but they don't know what to look for. What would those things be?
I think there's one thing that jumps off the bat is artwork. You got to know how to build the file to print. I think a lot of people just think, okay, I got the shiny new printer. I got a heat press, I'm good to go. But there's so much that goes into producing the artwork file for it to print properly in order to decorate that garment, that mug, whatever you're going on to. So before you print anything, you got to know how to generate that file. That's something that I'm actually not very familiar with. And so I need help with that with my marketing team. But right off the bat, before you touch anything, you got to know how to build a file. There's resources like Etsy and stuff like that where you can buy a file. Outside of that, if you're getting into white toner, you want your heat press to be as, to fit your printer. You don't want to buy an $8,000 printer and a $200 heat press. You want to buy the Ferrari and put in the premium fuel. Same thing here. I think there's really three things. It's the printer, the heat press, and the paper. The media that you're using. As long as you're using high quality products along all the lines, you're not taking shortcuts, our customers find it, they're very successful. Like I said, customer buys it, let's just say an 8432, tries to go cheap on the press, and they're wondering why the results aren't as consistent, or they buy a good press, but maybe they try to go, direct to Alibaba for a cheaper heat transfer paper, wondering why the results aren't consistent. So what we try to do is hey, as long as you're getting this press, this printer, and any of these medias, you're going to be successful, and we have the resources and the tools to help you along the way.
And that's actually really important, because I used to make merchandise for just whether it was athletes, independent professional wrestlers, things like that, and a lot of that is heat transfers and stuff. And when I first started, I would buy my transfers elsewhere, and so I went out, I bought this heat press. I really thought I was hot stuff, I was cranking out these shirts. And then whenever it came time for me to grow a little bit, I decided, I'm going to buy a printer, and I went super cheap on it because that's what you do when you're starting out. And I realized that it didn't matter how good the heat press was, the print quality wasn't there. And the problem I had before that was I didn't have a good heat press. So even though I was buying professionally made transfers,
Right.
they weren't holding the fabric well or anything. And so it really is kind of like that total package of you need
Yeah.
to make sure you have all the pieces. And I know a lot of that can come with a cost. So if you were to look at, like you said, the 8432, it's an $8,000 printer. And, I've seen comments that are like, oh, it's an $8,000 printer. Like, what could I possibly need to spend $8,000 on? So shooting from the hip, if somebody came up to you and was like, okay, why is that printer $8,000? How do you justify that value?
I mean, you could put this one product in your shop and you'll be able to say yes to anybody, because that you can get a job for 100% cotton black t-shirts or 100% polyester red shirts, or you can get a job for mugs. Someone wants stickers, they want tattoos, maybe they want to decorate a candle, and we have water slides. So it's in my opinion, it's probably the most versatile product that we have in our industry, and the fact that it's a toner based system, so there's no maintenance to it. So we say it's a short to medium run process, our solution, because you're not gonna buy the CRIO to do 1,000 shirts a day. It's just not what it's for. But for the side hustle customer, or that small business that might be doing 1 to 10 shirts maybe a day, or maybe 25 shirts a week, it's an awesome product. You turn it on to make money and you turn it off and you don't have to waste money on it. So like I said, the fact that it's so versatile, I mean, I think it sells itself. But yes, I understand not everyone has $8,000, and we totally get that. I think the biggest thing at CRIO is we've built a support website called mycrio.com that is for our customers only.
Okay.
We understand if you're investing in us, a big investment, that we want to return the favor and invest back in you.
Mm-hmm.
So truly, CRIO was started based off of end user success. Previous with Oki data, if you called Oki and you just had an issue, they would be like, did the printer turn on? Okay, you're good. Or call your dealer. There wasn't much support there. They make a great product, but so we took all those years of supporting Oki and bringing all that knowledge to support CRIO, and truly, we have the resources and tools for you when you invest in CRIO, because we know it's a high investment product, and we did not take that lightly.
Okay. And that, I think, probably would ease a lot of people's minds, because there is a lot of that issue, especially when you start dealing in industrial industries or industrial machines, where it's, okay, cool, I've got the machine, but now who do I call? Like,
of course.
Or if you do call somebody and you do get a hold of somebody, do they know the answers? And I think that that's one thing that across all industries, really, there could be a lot more attention paid to is, okay, now we've quote unquote got the customer, but it's taken care of them. And I can tell, even with you, I know you're a busy guy, but there's been times that I've emailed you and it was something super minor or whatever, and usually pretty quick. It's like, hey, boom, got your answer. Or like I was talking with Bill last episode, where it's, I know the person that can get the answer.
Of course.
And so that access to information, the CRIO website, is there anything that you feel like maybe would be a stumbling block? Now you've got the equipment, you've got the support, you've got the communication. What are some other stumbling blocks somebody might come up with whenever they're trying to expand their business?
Just expand their business. I think it's, clientele. I can have all the right tools, but if I don't have anyone to buy from me, if I'm not branching out and getting, at the end of the day, it's return on investment. So if I'm not getting the return on my investment quickly, then you're not doing your job. So as a small business owner, going to the local restaurants, the local schools, and if you have children, those sporting events, there's plenty of opportunity to decorate merch or to decorate hard surfaces or something of that value. I think the people that buy all the shiny stuff and then just sit back and wait, they might fail. But the people that buy the stuff and then invest and they're going out and hustling. I was selling car wax. I understand the drive. I wasn't going to eat dinner if I wasn't selling anything. So it's going out there and building that clientele. And then when you produce a high quality product that the CRIO can do, and then the return business is there. So you definitely have to put forth the work of getting that customer base. And then once you have it, you keep them happy. Word of mouth spreads like crazy, especially some of these customers in these small towns are making a killing because they might be the only place in shop or in town. But, you have to put out that initial, that hustle, that grind. And then, I think the reward is going to be there in the end.
I think that the vision definitely has to be there, because when you're looking, and we had discussed in the last episode, when you're looking, just standing on a city block, you see all these different businesses, you see all these different signs and everything. And so it's like there's plenty of opportunity out there because all of those businesses need logo work, they need apparel, they need uniforms, whatever the case may be. And so a lot of it kind of is that drive. But a lot of it too is, like you said, that word of mouth. You have to rely on those communication skills. You have to rely on the ability to talk to people and actually have that hustle. And I think having that right mindset, like you said, where you're like, hey, I made this investment. Now I have to go and take care of it. So let's just say somebody started out, they bought a machine, they've got the hustle, they've got all this stuff, they're making, a lot of money, and they want to expand. We have some programs where you can expand faster, with trade-ins and stuff. And I know that CRIO has multiple different levels of machines. So as you're growing, what do you think? You have one machine, 8432. When should you think about buying a second machine? Like at what quantity, at what level of production should you really look at expanding? Because it is a big expense, and you don't want to make that jump too early, but you don't want to try to run your machine too much.
Yeah.
So about how many orders a day, give or take, do you think somebody should have coming in before they decide to expand?
That's a great question. That's, with CRIO, it's a very special type of printer because it prints so fast. So because I could print 25 to 30 transfers per minute, I can't really outgrow that. But you can buy a different heat. You can buy multiple heat presses. So with the CRIO, it's like, okay, my CRIO 8432 might be able to handle 6 heat presses in the room. Now we can produce 120 to 150 transfers an hour. I would say right off the bat, and I just did a video on it, I got 30 full color dark garments done with the CRIO 8432. And that's like balls to the wall. Like you are just going to town on this thing. So I guess when you want to invest in another heat press, well, when you need to produce more than 30 shirts, dark colored shirts an hour. Okay. So if you're like, oh, wow, now I'm doing 60, or I just picked up a second school. Luckily with the CRIO, you don't need multiple machines, but you can get multiple heat presses, and $8,000 or $2,000, that's a nice little difference. So that is the cool thing about a CRIO printer, is that they do print so fast that to keep up with that pace, you just got to add on heat presses.
And I'm still pretty new to this industry, and I assumed, but it's always good to ask. And I think that really gives a lot of quality to the product itself, in the fact that it's like, okay, look, you don't have to make that big expense. Right. It's kind of the accessories that you have to worry about, and you can grow at a cheaper pace than, like let's say with embroidery machines. An embroidery machine can only put out so many products. And so when it's time to make another investment, it can be a pretty sizable investment. Right. But with the CRIO and white toner printing in general, it's just another heat press, or it's more paper, or it's more whatever. So you're not kind of repetitively making that same giant investment over again. So I think it's fair to say probably the longer that you do it, the better benefit you're going to see in the long run, right?
Yeah, no, correct. And I think there comes a time too, it's like I've way outgrown the CRIO, and for we partnered with tremendous dealers out there like Stitch It, and when you sell it the correct way, you're going to hit a point where it's going to be a cheaper alternative to either outsource transfers or invest in maybe a larger DTF printer or a screen print machine, because the cost per print is cheaper. With CRIO, let's just say all in, my cost per print's $2. Well, it's going to always be $2 if I print one transfer, or 1,000. With these screen print machines, with the direct-to-film machines, the larger quantities, you get price breaks. And so, it comes to a point where it's like, okay, I can either outsource this, or I can invest in different technology for these larger runs to bring my cost down. And at CRIO, we completely understand that. We're not saying you're going to run a shop with all CRIOs in it. No, we're a piece to your puzzle. And if you want to be a small business that does a bunch of small orders, we can do that. But if you do want to grow into multi-million-dollar shop, you're going to have to invest in larger technology. We know that. We are a complementary product. We're not something where you're going to issue, let's just say your screen print, you're not going to put a CRIO in there. It's going to take all your screen print business. No, we're going to be that short to medium run solution for you. And you don't want to burn 10 screens, but you still want to do that 15 t-shirt job. Okay. So that is our thing. And we don't sell it as an all-in-one solution. We don't sell it as this is going to take over your business. we're complementary product. If you're in business, we're going to complement your current business. Or if you start with us, we know there's going to be a time where you're going to outgrow it, but you're going to keep it in-house for the onesie twosies, the short runs.
And honestly, like, I'm glad you guys have that transparency, because a lot of places tend to kind of overpromise and underdeliver, so to speak, where they'll be like, oh, like you said, you can run a multi-million-dollar business off this machine, and it's like, like let's not go that far.
Of course.
But it is definitely something, especially whether you're just starting out, you're just expanding, or like you said, if it's just a compliment, it's a great feature to have, and it offers you kind of services that would cost other people more to go and say. For me, like I was talking about, I had to buy a heat press, I had to third party buy the transfers, and I probably spent over $8,000 paying somebody else money.
Exactly.
And so that $8,000 probably could have been a lot better spent if it was just like, no, you know what, I'm going to buckle down, I'm going to buy my machine, and then I'm going to go from there, which increases the profit over the long haul. So for, let's say, somebody that doesn't necessarily need that $8,000 printer. You've got smaller CRIOs and things like that, right? But on the opposite end, you were talking about the DTF. Can you explain to people a little bit what the difference between DTF and white toner printing is?
Sure, yeah. So let's just start with white toner. So white toner, if you think about it, we've been printing directly to film for years. First white toner came out, I believe, in like 2009-ish. And we've always been printing directly to forever laser dark film. It's a film, so technically you can call us a direct-to-film printer. Now the new DTFs that are out there, direct-to-film printers, are all inkjet based, and they are CMYK in white. You got to print ink first down on a film, then you got to add a powdered adhesive to the top of that so it can have a glue for it to stick. Then it's got to go through an oven of some sort, either an oven, or you got to put some heat down on your heat press to cure that powder to the ink, and now you have your transfer.
Okay.
So with DTF, there's really two models out there. There's your desktop kind of crafter DTF, and then there's your industrialized DTF machines. Now Mamaki's getting into DTF, Roland, all the manufacturers are getting into it, which is cool, because years ago, if you imported in 5 machines, they'd all 5 be different, with the DTF space. And we did it, and we got burned, and we got out of it. But now that you're getting all of these manufacturers that we're used to seeing selling as printers, now they're getting into DTF. That's good, because now we get North American support. I think that's the biggest thing about DTF is, your print head goes and it's like, shoot, I got to import that from, maybe it's Asia or wherever, overseas somewhere, and can't be down that long.
Yep. So you've got that immediate response time.
100%.
Okay.
So it's nice to see these other people getting into it, but CRIO being a short to medium run solution, that's where the desktop DTFs are. They're short run solutions, and without really getting salesy, one has no maintenance and one has high maintenance. And it's like, okay, which one do you want? And now there's DTF printers out there that are $3,000-$4,000, and ours is $8,000. So I get it. If you can't afford the $8,000 and you still want to get into the garment printing industry, I love it. Invest. Just make sure that you got the support behind the product.
Well, I think one thing that comes along with that is that's part of where that research comes in. And correct me if I'm wrong, because like I said, I'm still kind of learning some of this stuff myself. But I know also with DTF, there's a lot of ventilation systems. There's a lot of other things that you really should be putting into place, just for health reasons and stuff. But all that starts coming with additional costs. You have to pay for construction, you have to pay for ventilation, you have to pay for maintenance. And so what you think is like, oh, okay, it's only $3,000-$4,000, it's better than $8,000. By the time you're done investing everything for that total picture, it's not necessarily the same.
You're 100% right.
So I think that CRIO, like you said, being maintenance free, all kind of wrapped up into one and stuff. Again, we're not going to get too salesy or whatever. But that really highlights the importance of that research and really knowing what you're getting into. Because if you don't do that proper research, it adds up really, really quick.
Well, yeah, and DTF is so hot and heavy right now with our industry. It's like the FOMO is there. It's like, I need to get into the DTF. I need to get a DTF printer because everyone's doing it. That's awesome. But are you at the DTF level? Like we always say, if you're printing 50 to 100 shirts every single day, like Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 7 days a week, DTF is for you because those machines are meant to run. A lot of our customers do 25 shirts one day. They don't do any shirts for the next few days because it's either their side hustle, maybe they have a 9 to 5, they do this at night. Our product fits that. So especially with the dealers that are selling both products, it's just help out the customer and ask them those qualifying questions. What is your monthly, what is your weekly and your daily volume of shirts? And when that customer goes, I don't know, don't sell them a DTF because they're just, we've seen the headaches, we've seen the horror stories. I'm not saying you sell them a CRIO, but sell them something that to where when they don't run the machine, it's not going to cost them a lot of money. The worst thing is you get someone brand new into our industry, their technology fails, their equipment fails, and they don't want to buy any more equipment. Then we just lost that customer for life. So I think DTF is amazing technology, and it has a fit in our industry, especially these large format ones. They're selling gang sheets. That's awesome. Those are the people that are killing it. But someone, like I said, that is a short to medium small business, just make sure you have that daily volume before you do make an investment like that.
And that makes sense. And another aspect that you really need to think about is whether you have the time to commit to actually learning about it and stuff. Because it's a rapidly changing industry constantly. There's always new technology coming out, new approaches or whatever. And so being able to stay on top of that. And that was one thing that me and Bill had spoken of, is about like having the classes where there would be people that would buy the machines and then they wouldn't touch them because they knew they spent so much money on them and they didn't know how to use them.
They were intimidated.
They're very intimidated because when you spend that kind of money, like
Exactly.
the fear of breaking things jumps in.
Right.
And so if somebody were to ask you, hey, like, how do I learn about these CRIOs? How do I learn about white toner printing? Like you said, you had the CRIO website, right? Do you guys offer any sort of webinars, any sort of training or anything like that in addition to those?
Yeah, it's a great question. So let's just say you bought a printer. I meet people to this day that don't take advantage of our free training. So we include a RIP software, and we feel it's our job as the manufacturer to teach you how to print. We might not be able to teach you how to use every single paper, but if we can at least get you printing, then the dealers like Stitch It can come and do a one-on-one training with you and vice versa. So yes, there's a lot of free training. So on every Tuesday at 10 a.m. Central and 3 p.m. Central, we do a RIP software training. So whether you want to come every week, you want to come twice a Tuesday, it doesn't matter. They're always live. They're always free. So we teach you 1 hour out of your day or 2 hours out of your day, just how to print. And then on Wednesdays, we do live application training. So at noon every Wednesday, we do something new. Maybe we're decorating dark t-shirts and we'll show you 3 or 4 different ways to do the dark t-shirt. Or we're doing hard surface or wood or doing tattoos. But we feel it's we're getting a lot of feedback on that. One thing that we're noticing though is, let's just say we have 100 customers. A lot of the customers don't know this stuff exists. And I think we covered it first. CRIO just wants to help. We want to teach you everything that you need to be successful. So it's just like, I think I was listening to Bill. It's like, yeah, you just bought this awesome, but like, what's next? With CRIO, you have all of free training from us. Now our dealer partners are amazing as well. But so yes, there's a lot of additional support out there that not everyone knows about.
And that's honestly part of why I asked, is because a lot of this stuff is free resources.
Yes.
And even if you're not a CRIO customer and you're just interested in it, you can still go and you can still watch those and learn. That way you're making more of an informed decision. And that's something that we've been doing here. We do oddly enough, Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Central.
I know. Yeah, I saw you guys this morning.
For our Facebook Live. But a lot of it's the same thing, is because then it's like people can come on the live, they can ask questions in real time, they can get them answered in real time. And a lot of times, kind of like you said, where it's, you may not know that you even have that question, but then you start brainstorming, a subject gets brought up, and then you're like, oh man.
Right.
But the importance is actually asking the questions. And I think that that's one thing that, like, a lot of people are afraid to ask questions. And I think CRIO, Stitch It, us doing those live videos and stuff, I think makes a huge difference as far as people feeling like there's that accessibility to information.
Sure.
And so if you could encourage anybody to, hey, don't be shy, reach out, please ask questions, like, it's incredibly beneficial.
Yeah, I think Bill said it or you said it, but in your last podcast, like, yeah, we can give you all the tools necessary to be successful, but you kind of have to look in the mirror and put in that work. But that goes for anything. I didn't all of a sudden know just how to catch a football. Like, I had to drop a bunch, I had to jam, break fingers before I was really good at catching the football. Same thing with printing, same thing with decorating garments. It's like you have to repetitive nature and do it and fail. Like we said earlier, I've done all the mistakes. So, and with embroidery, it's got to be the exact same thing. It's just like get in there and dive in head first. The nice thing is like CRIO, Stitch It. We're not going to be like laughing at you. Luckily, you have a good support team here from both the manufacturer and the dealer to help. And that's the biggest thing is the people that I meet them all the time. Oh, I bought this printer last year, still haven't opened it. It's like, what? It's $8,000. It's like, no, dive in head first. Yep. I promise you there's someone to call, both the dealer and the manufacturer level, that we're here to help. That's all we want to do, is help build small businesses. I think is our goal on our side of things, talking to users.
So separate from the business side for a little bit, you said catching a football. Wide receiver?
I was a tight end.
Tight end, okay.
Yeah, not fast enough. I was a wide receiver.
You look a little bit short for a wide receiver.
Yeah.
So I can definitely relate on being short there.
That's right.
No, I had to ask because I was going to ask that earlier about what position you played, and then we got busy talking. So
yeah.
I'm honestly trying to think. We covered quite a bit. Is there anything that you think, if somebody's on the fence about like getting into the apparel industry, period, they have no experience, is there any piece of advice that you could just give them, saying like, hey, let's do this, hey, stay away from it, hey, it might not be for you, like just any piece of advice? What would you give somebody considering it?
I think if one's close to you, I think going to a trade show and just walking without even the intention of buying, because you're going to see all these different technologies out there, right? It's like, okay, well, what if you're thinking about getting in, what's your end goal here? Do I want to make shirts for friends and family? Do I want to build something and grow something? Or do I want to go all in right away because I have, a school district that wants to buy thousands of shirts from me a month? So I think going into it, you want to have the business plan kind of written out. This is what I want to do. From there, researching, okay, this trade show is either in town or, you can go online and Google this. What are my specialties? Do I want to make mugs? Do I want to do hard surface goods? Do I want to make shirts? If I want to make shirts, do I want to do cotton or polyester? Do I want the option to do both? I know it sounds like a lot of questions, but if you can narrow down, this is what I want to do, well, then you're going to go to a show and be like, okay, there's 3 ways I can do what I want to do. And then from there, it's what company do I want to invest in? What product do I want to invest in? I just think that you can go into blindly, but then kind of have an idea of like, okay, wow, I saw this trade show and that looked really cool. Maybe screen printing is what I want to get into because my cost is super low. I just have to produce more. And then you can invest there.
Okay. And I think that being informed is actually probably one of the biggest things that you could possibly do for yourself, not just in business, but in life. But talking about the trade shows, talking about visiting them, here coming up next month in June, the trade show in Long Beach. You and Bill are going to be at that. We're going to be doing a 90-minute seminar before the event. And a lot of that stuff is going to be these topics conversation, how can apparel decoration expand your business and stuff. So for a lot of people that are out there maybe listening, they can kind of come to that trade show, meet RJ personally. You're actually at quite a few of our shows, but in that one with the seminar. And so that'll be able to give people a lot more of that information and a lot more of that clarity. And we are going to be doing a question and answer session.
Sweet.
And so when people come to that, I'm sure you're probably going to have plenty of questions and things like that, but then you'll also be available afterwards during the show at our booth. So I just want to make sure that anybody listening to this knows that they can come up to us at any one of the trade shows. I'll be there at Long Beach and be more than willing to talk to people, interact with everybody, answer any questions that they have. And I think that trade show circuit is so much more important than a lot of people put kind of credence to. So outside of just going to a trade show to learn, what are some of the benefits of going to some of those trade shows?
You get deals. I can promise you that. For my dealers that go to shows and my dealers that don't go to shows, I can tell you the ones that don't go to shows are complaining to me because the dealers that are at shows discount printers. They give a lot more free stuff away. So trust me, if you're wanting to buy and you can get to a trade show, that is by far you'll get the best deal at a show because it's in person and you get to meet your sales rep. I think that's another thing is build that rapport. especially like, let's just say I buy from you and I know you now because I met you. I spoke to you for, maybe a half an hour about technology. I run into an issue. At least I know, hey, I've met Corey. I can call Corey and, we can get the problem taken care of. At the same time, too, Corey gave me so much free paper that I'm making my mistakes on his dime, not on my dime.
That's a good way to look at it.
So, outside of, I love traveling the country, meeting new people all the time. That's actually something I'm passionate about is literally helping people build their businesses or start their own small business. But if you're a customer and you want to buy, no matter what the equipment is, the best deals are there, best finance deals are there. We were just, I don't know where I just was, but it was a 6-month deferred payment. You bought the printer for 6 months. I can get all of this money and then I can start making my payments. And they have, you can pay it off early. This is not just my equipment. This is any equipment. So I think that going there in person, and this is what I tell people all the time with shows. If you're going to the trade show and the printer's not printing, well, something's wrong with that printer. You're going to come to see the CRIO in action at every single one of these trade shows. We're printing, pressing, we're doing all this stuff. But if you go and you're walking the show and you're like, why is that printer not printing? Well, something happened there and that's meant to print. So you can see the good, bad, and ugly at trade shows all the time.
That's true. And it's funny, one of the things that you see, especially when we're talking about doing the Facebook Lives, is it never fails. Things go wrong when everybody's watching.
Oh, yeah.
So, but it gives you that, it gives you that firsthand experience and that knowledge of, hey, something's not going to work 100% of the time. But if you see that printer all day long, it's running, and then there's a 5-minute period it's down,
of course,
that sends a whole lot different message than, hey, I've been here and that thing's been down since I got here this morning.
Oh, I did a sales pitch at a show. I was doing a demo, and you get distracted. All of a sudden, I did a hot peel when it's supposed to be a cold peel, and the customer's like, well, what happened? I'm like, well, I messed up. Let me show you how to do it. Glad I showed you not how to do it, but yes, mistakes happen. When you go live, are you kidding me? You never know what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to see it all.
Oh, that was this morning whenever we went live, which by the time this airs, it'll be several weeks back. But our internet completely went out. Right. So we couldn't show the software, and so we had to go back and do it a second time. And I think a lot of times, one, it's just comic relief because it's funny when things don't work.
We're all human.
But then also, let's say the cold press or the cold peel instead of the hot peel. That's somebody, they buy a printer, they take it home, they see it, they peel it off, they realize they peeled it the wrong way. They're not going to be like, oh man, I did this wrong, I messed it up. They're going to be like, you know what, hey, that guy did it.
Exactly.
Accidents happen. It makes you feel better about things.
100%.
So this episode, I'm going to go ahead and say it'll be like the 3rd week of May by the time this is posted. The only reason I bring that up is because I know you're a busy person. So towards the end of May into June, where can people kind of find you at if they wanted to talk to you?
I would say reach out to CRIO. You can send an email to support@mycrio.com. You can reach out to info@mycrio.com. And I don't off the top of my head know the number. But if you go on www.createwithcrio.com, there's a contact us form. Just fill it out. It's going to ask for your name, your email, and your phone number, and just put it in a note. Maybe I saw or listened to you at the Stitch It podcast. Would love to maybe just ask me some questions or, whatever it might be. But I would say go through the website because that immediately generates tickets on our end. And we have not only myself, but our whole team that has visibility to that.
Okay. And I think one thing a lot of people don't realize whenever it comes to organizations like this is most of the time we're not big organizations that have hundreds or thousands of employees. So if you send that contact form, you're going to see eyes on it. You're going to see
of course.
It. So I know for some people they might be a little bit turned off, like, oh, go to the website and fill out a form. But
no.
These companies, the size they are,
I get a direct email. So you actually email me.
Absolutely,
so I can promise you. If you have questions for me, that's the easiest way to get to me.
I just wanted to throw that out there so it didn't seem like kind of a generalized, oh, hey, visit the website. But no, you'll get a hold of RJ. If you email Stitch It for some of the marketing stuff, you're guaranteed to get a hold of me. And I think that, to me, putting that face behind it and seeing people where it's like, hey, you know what? These aren't some giant faceless corporations. These are people that are actually answering my questions. And then you go to the trade shows and you're actually meeting the same people that you've been emailing and talking to on the phone. I feel like that makes a big difference. And I think that that's kind of that connection with, small businesses. They get into it because they want to help people. They want to reach out. They want to be there and be a resource or whatever. And so I think knowing that we're in the same boat,
100%.
we're just there to try to help people too. And I would much rather open that line of communication. So he told you his contact information. For us, it's contact@stitchit.com or stitchit.intl.com. You can reach out. I guarantee you somebody's going to contact you back. And chances are, if you email CRIO, it'll be RJ himself. So
Yep.
I think that's actually probably a pretty good place to wrap it up. It looks like sound tech's telling us it's about time to go.
Sweet.
So any last minute words of wisdom?
I appreciate you having me on. Great conversation. I think the moral of the story here is people helping people, all from CRIO, from Stitch It. We just want to see people be successful, especially if you're investing in us. So again, thank you for having me.
Thank you. Appreciate it.